balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Before we get started tonight, I do have a question for you. And just to give you a little background, I am still at roughly, batting, pretty high in terms of, I don't know about batting averages. I'm not really a baseball person, but I'm batting something around 1,000 for leftist lunatics who can't pull out the article and section in the Constitution that has to deal with education, healthcare, foreign aid, any of the topics that are there. But I got a question for all of you Whiskey Warrior P1s and others out there, especially those in the chat, because you guys can let me know. But would you appreciate if I were to do a segment on the party switch myth? Because I had an interesting interaction with a leftist who tried to tell me, first of all, that the Department of Education was constitutional. Second of all, that she had like straight A's, and so on and so forth. And yeah. Anyway, she tried to tell me, too, that the Department of Education is in the Constitution, that it's a constitutional thing. But I've so many people have been talking about this, and most of the time, it's a leftist who's basically saying that the Democrats have become the Republicans of old, because they the reason why they do this is they want to whitewash their racist, segregationist history, and they want to whitewash it, and they want to get rid of it. And it's a myth. That is a myth. And I don't have any of the material ready for tonight, although I did consider switching everything that I was going to do tonight. In terms of this, but I'm these people are, and keep in mind too, okay, just to lay it all out there, I don't get involved with these idiots for the idiots. I don't. The reason why I am willing to entertain these morons is because of the fact that there could be somebody who is an independent, who is sitting on the fence trying to figure out, well, do I go with the crazy lunatics, or do I go with the other side that are being reported to be, all these wonderful things? By wonderful, I mean, like, horrible things. And I just basically, I do it for that independent. I do it to try and demonstrate to the independent that there are intelligent, free-thinking Americans out there, for this. And so this party myth has been has just been something that the Democrats keep wanting to try, and they keep wanting to try and tell people that, hey, the Republican Party is the party of, the old Democrats that seceded with the Union and blah, 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 wanted to keep slaves and are the party of slaves. It's bullshit, okay? Let's just put it that way. It's bunk. But I'm getting a little tired of these people who are sitting here saying, hey, you do your research. Oh, I love that. And then, of course, they immediately post something that, apparently based on the font and everything came from Wikipedia. For those of you that don't know, Wikipedia is left-leaning constantly and is not a viable source of information. In fact, universities across the country have basically said that they don't want to use that as a viable source of information. And the reason being is because morons like the Democrats can go in and change the information whenever they want. And there's no moderation block button or whatever to keep these idiots from changing things. And that's why Wikipedia is not a viable source. Neither is AI, by the way, for general purpose. AI is not a viable source either. And that when you see somebody who uses AI as a viable source, that's, again, they're a moron. They don't understand how to actually, research for themselves. And so, yeah, there you go. Anyway. So, all right. So I've got one yes so far. So if I don't get at least a couple more yeses, if you guys want me to cover the party switch myth, if you don't want me to cover that, I mean, obviously don't answer. But if you do, then let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat or in the comments of the video too. You can put it in the comments of the video as well. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight is BAM. BAM is on tap for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hats if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with BAM as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, BAM, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing or reciting the pledge in your style, and then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email, or send it to, or share to, that's the keywords, share to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I'm at number 19. 19, I need 20. I would like to get 20. Please, I like even numbers. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about our headline sponsor, which is today the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online. Or, if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, that leftist moron over on Facebook would have benefited greatly from this thing. Anyway, go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Take a look at this thing. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. Has a stitched binding. No cheap glue here, folks. Stitched all the way through. The leather and the pages contained within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if you have a problem with either the workmanship or the materials, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free within that time frame. It is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved, and my youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you study for your civics badge in scouting, including your civics exam, if you would go ahead and, have one of those. Anyway, go and check out the go get yours today, the constitution.americanperspective.online. That's constitution.americanperspective.online, and go and check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution's wonderful offerings. And I, of course, thank them for allowing me to be a brand affiliate. Yeah, where is 3 Chevy with his, explosive diarrhea or gastrointestinal issues? He must be busy. Anyway. Yeah, he had a run. All right, give me just a second here. I got to check something, because I don't think I did this. So, I didn't did this to see if all of my chats were up and running. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Let's see if I get number 4. Yep, I do. Okay, good. I got all 4. 4 things running. 4 chats are running. So we're perfect. All right. Well, Trump did it again. Well, he's kind of done it again. Anyway, Trump was having a conversation or having an interview with a Daily Caller individual. This individual, the Daily Caller, sat down with Trump in an hour-long interview last Friday in the Oval Office. And the person who went was, let's see, what's her name? Reese. Let's see. I don't know what her last name is. It doesn't say. Yeah, so Reese something or other. Anyway, Reese, boy, I wish I could, I thought I saw it. Anyway, so Trump was talking to them, and he is reportedly installing a, no, not Reese's Pieces, I wish, but anyway, I like those. Oh, Reagan Reese. That's it. Reagan Reese. And she's the White House correspondent for the Daily Caller. Anyway, she was in an interview with him, an hour-long interview. And before I get too far into this, I've got to say hello to Landon. Hi, Landon. How are you doing? Are you a good boy? Are you behaving? Anyway. I wonder if he got some ears up. Anyway, so yes, Reagan Reese was talking to Donald Trump in an interview on Friday, and Trump took her out to his presidential wall of fame that he is creating. Now, it's kind of interesting, and it's going to be in the Rose Garden, but the one feature outside of the fact that obviously you have 2 Donald Trump photos there. But the one feature that is interesting about it, and I'll go ahead and show you, this was posted by J.D. Vance. Oh, these guys, I gotta tell you, these guys, they are so funny. They are so funny, guys. This was posted on J.D. Vance, J.D. Vance's X account. You'll see Joseph R. Biden's photo is the auto pen. Oh, there's a transcript of the exclusive interview. Anyway, you can read the interview and him talking to Reese and a few other people who were with her and him during the interview. And yeah, anyway, so there you go. It's going to be Trump and then the auto pen and then Trump for the, yeah. Now keep in mind, I mean, this is not the photo that they're actually going to use of Trump. He mentioned in the interview that he wants to use the black and white photos, not the one that he is smiling, but he wants to get black and white photos up there for him. So I don't know. I don't know if this one in the middle is actually true or not, but Donald Trump, yeah, he's a troller for sure. He loves to poke fun at his, we'll just call them enemies for right now, but there you go. That's just great. Anyway. All right. Well, we got some good news. That's right. The Penguin, Jerry Nadler, the man who shat himself on stage and had to shuffle off. He has announced that after 34 years in Congress, he is going to retire. He's not going to seek a re-election at the end of his term here. And he cited that the need is for generational change. I don't know where these people are. I don't know where these people are going to, get any replacements that are going to be, halfway decent. And hopefully, I'm hoping that if he leaves office, that you will actually have a possibility of flipping the seat. That would be great, but I don't think so. I mean, it's in New York. So, yeah. So there we go. He reportedly told the New York Times, watching the Biden thing really said something about the necessity for generational change in the party, and I think I want to respect that. Yeah. Anyway, he needs to go away. So, it was evident, of course, according to the Fox piece here that I'm reading from, it was evident, of course, when Nadler, 78, was forced to give up his House Judiciary Committee leadership at the beginning of the term when it became clear a younger, more energetic colleague would beat him. Nadler has been a vocal critic of Donald Trump, warning fellow Democrats about Trump's leadership style. The two have sparred dating back to the 1980s over Manhattan development projects. He said, "I'm not saying that we should change over the entire party, but I think a certain amount of change is very helpful, especially when we face the challenge of Trump and his incipient fascism." Yeah, incipient fascism. No fascism going on here, folks. I'm just telling you. So, you'll remember that he was the one who succeeded in steering articles of impeachment through his committee in 2019. Now, he didn't discuss who could potentially succeed him. He was basically saying that multiple candidates could run to replace him, but a person familiar with his thinking told the Times that Nadler planned to support a person named Micah Lasher, who represents parts of the Upper West Side in the New York State Assembly, should that person to finally decide to run. So, yeah. So, there you go. Woohoo! Yeah, at least we don't have to see the Penguin anymore. Well, here's another step in the right direction. Trump seems to have this. I talked about this just the other day, and I demonstrated to you through statistical analysis of certain things that were put up by Just Facts. Thankfully, there is a site that has just actual facts on things like, mass shootings and gun control and things of that nature. But one of the things that is a common entity across all mass shootings, and I'm not, outside of the ones that are done in terms of gang related, but even those have to have some sort of a element of this item. Mental illness plays in every single mass shooting event, school or otherwise, across the board. And as I showed you a couple of episodes ago when we were talking about this shortly after the Minnesota horrific shooting happened and occurred, the deterioration or removal, actually, I should say, by Congress of our insane asylums, our mental health asylums, and things of that nature, the removal of those are directly correlated. Now, they may not be causal per se, but they are directly correlated to the increase in uptick in these mass shooting events. And so one of the things, one of my 4-point plan to fix or significantly reduce, I should say, the problem of mass shootings was to fix the mental illness problem in our country. We have a lot of it. Well, Donald Trump, I don't know if he listens to this program. I don't think he does. I mean, he's a big guy. No reason why he would listen to little old me. But Donald Trump has stated now, this in the Daily Caller, that Trump is open to bringing back insane asylums to help clean up the streets. Folks, we need to do something. Plain and simple. We need to do something. And trying to restrain the rights of law-abiding citizens is not the direction that we need to go. Because unlike the lunatic leftist morons that are running around in this country trying to claim that the gun is the problem, the gun is not the problem. The gun is simply the tool that is being used. It's not the problem. The problem straight up comes from mental illness. I mean, just as an example, the Minnesota shooter, most recent one, forget the fact that he was trans. His manifesto pointed out that all he wanted to do was kill kids. That's a problem. That is a mental illness problem. That doesn't have anything to do necessarily with whether or not he's trans. Although, again, like I'm going to point out, when you have these kinds of abnormal, and they are abnormal thoughts, that leads you toward a propensity to potentially become off the rocker like that. Doesn't mean everybody's going to be. It just means that you have a higher risk factor, just like being overweight is a higher risk factor for heart disease. It's just a risk factor. That's it. Doesn't mean everybody's going to get heart disease or anything like that. Well, this I can get behind. Trump being open to bringing back insane asylums, I totally agree. When we took away the ability to institutionalize people who needed the assistance and the help, okay, we took away a valuable tool. Now, granted, some of the horror stories that you hear about from some of these asylums and stuff, yes, they are absolutely horrible. And I wouldn't want to necessarily see us return to those kinds of treatments. But considering the fact that you need to remove these individuals, these dangerous individuals, just like you would any other criminal, you need to remove these criminals from normal society. And as I pointed out to you in that episode also, too, Japan has a much higher rate of institutionalization than of course, higher rate of institutionalization than anyone else in the world. And then they sit there and they say that Japan is just so safe and so wonderful because it doesn't have guns. That's not why. Japan is a different society. They have a different value system than we do. They are incorporating their values, their societal values, in everything that they do. It isn't like America where we have a melting pot and we have many different cultures that come together or attempt to come together. Nowadays, they're not even attempting to melt in anymore, which is part of the reason why we need to get rid of the illegal aliens that are running around. But the point here is that Donald Trump is looking and trying to come up with a real answer to the challenge and the problem that we have today. And bringing back insane asylums may be, as I said, it's part of my 4-step process. Well, I call it 4 steps, but it's 4 points, 4-point process to fixing the mass shooting challenges that we have in this country. So, anyway. Well, Congress comes back today, but before I get into this, let me go ahead and tell you. I want this one. Let me go ahead and tell you about Rumble Premium. Well, you've probably noticed Rumble is growing fast and it's not slowing down. Well, the reason why that's happening is because Rumble is the free speech alternative to ScrewTube. Anyway, they are building a real alternative to big tech that puts creators first and actually protects free speech. Now, there's Rumble Premium, an easy way to upgrade your experience. With Premium, you get ad-free viewing across the platform. No pre-rolls, no interruptions, just the content that you came for. Plus, Premium members unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, behind-the-scenes drops, and more from your favorite creators. I don't do that yet, but I'm seriously giving it a thought. Anyway, right now, Rumble is offering $10 off their annual subscription. Just go to rumble.com/premium, and the / is the question mark key, folks. Rumble.com/premium. Use promo code STUDIO at checkout to receive that $10 off their annual subscription for Rumble Premium. Once again, go to rumble.com/premium. Use promo code STUDIO at checkout and get that $10 off an annual subscription. That's rumble.com/premium, promo code STUDIO. No ads, more freedom, and content that you actually care about. That's the deal. Go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO to get $10 off your annual subscription to Rumble Premium. All right. Well, Congress returns to session this week. They've been off for close to a month. So September's here. We're back. We're after Labor Day, so on and so forth. Both chambers returned today. Well, here's kind of some of the things that are on tap for what they need to do. First is government funding. I really don't understand why these people cannot figure out how to fund things properly. But government funding is scheduled to run out on September 30th under a stopgap spending bill that was approved by Congress back in March. So, both chambers, of course, need to pass and the president to sign a total of 12 funding bills to avert or complete a complete or even a partial government shutdown. So far, the Senate has passed an initial draft of 3 of the 12, while the House has passed 2. Only one, which is a bill to fund military construction, has passed both chambers at this point. Lawmakers will also need to pass the National Defense Authorization Act. It's an annual bill that sets military policy. So, anyway, the toughest challenge, according to this Epic Times piece that I'm reading from, the toughest challenge for the spending bills will be the Senate, where Republicans will need the support of 7 Democrats to overcome a filibuster. Despite that, the Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vought has called for a less bipartisan appropriations process. So we're just going to have to see what's going to happen with that. And Republicans may need to resort to passing a stopgap bill to fund the government again, because the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and the House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries have called for pursuing a bipartisan path. So, Anyway, they also have on tap a White House request to cut $4.9 billion in foreign aid. Now, this request, of course, is known as a rescission. Trump proposed the cuts on August 28th, and the White House released the request on August 29th. The funds requested for cancellation were allocated to the State Department and the USAID, which is in the process of being shuttered. Thank God. The request is authorized under the Impoundment Control Act, which allows presidential requests that Congress rescind funding for a federal agency or project. Congress then has 45 days to approve the request. So, there you go. By the way, the president's request to cut that will be automatically allowed to proceed if Congress doesn't vote to reject it before the September 30th funding deadline. So, yeah. So if they don't do anything with it before September 30th, that $4.9 billion request will go into effect. Another thing that they're going to be picking up is the Trump nominations. They're going to continue their efforts to confirm Trump's executive appointees, which have been slowed by Democrat procedural moves. So the Senate rules can make it arduous to confirm, make it hard because they have to confirm the nominees one by one, even though it takes a simple majority to confirm them. Now, unanimous consent, when there is no objection from a senator, allows a nominee to be confirmed without a roll call vote. Democrats have refused to provide that kind of consent for it. So, and they keep running out the clock on their time for each nominee. They basically are trying to slow play all of this. So, that kind of action has led some Senate Republicans, including Thune, who is the majority leader, to contemplate changing the Senate rules in order to allow for nominees to be confirmed expeditiously. Now, the only problem with changing some of these rules, folks, is that if the other party gets into power and you've changed the rules, then that makes it easier for them to get stuff shoved through. So you got to kind of be careful when you do those sort of types of things, you know. Yeah. Let's just say that it's one of those things that I'm not exactly sure that we want to necessarily do that. Sometimes it opens up a Pandora's box. Washington federalization is also on the docket. That is, lawmakers could be asked to extend Trump's authority to control Washington's Metropolitan Police Department. You remember he, invoked the Home Rule Act of 1973 in Section 740. He took control of the local police force, but he can renew it for up to 30 days. After that, Congress is going to have to sign off on continued federalization. Now, Trump already did this in August, so before the end of September, we're going to need to know whether or not Congress is going to extend that or not. And then we also have the discharge petitions over in the House. So House Speaker Mike Johnson could be forced to allow votes on a bill to release sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's case files to the public, and also on a bill to ban stock trading by sitting members of Congress. Now, that second one I think is perfect. Go ahead, do it. That's the way it should be. Both of those bills, by the way, could be brought to the floor using what's called a discharge petition, which is a parliamentary maneuver that enables rank-and-file members to bypass leadership and force a vote on a bill. That process requires 218 lawmakers, which would be a majority of the House, to sign on to it. Thomas Massie is attempting to use the discharge position to force a vote on a bill ordering the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files within 30 days. Several Democrats have already signed on to the effort, so he may be able to get the 218 that is needed to go ahead and do that discharge petition on that particular one. So, the other one, by the way, is Representative Anna Paulina Luna. She's planning on using a discharge petition to force a vote on her bill to ban congressional stock trading. I don't know why that would necessarily need to be, other than the fact that you're actually doing stock trading because you know what laws you're about ready to pass. Speaking about that, let me just think about this for a second, because let's be honest. If Congress actually did only what they were allowed to do constitutionally, then they wouldn't need to worry about insider stock trading, because constitutionally speaking, they wouldn't be allowed to do anything other than regarding some laws in terms of interstate commerce, some laws in terms of foreign trade negotiations. So there really wouldn't be a whole heck of a lot. It wouldn't be a huge deal in terms of taking taxpayer money and sending it to other, organizations and everything, all these extra funding, which, by the way, for the record, I do not agree with Donald Trump trying or attempting to buy like 10% stock in Intel or any other private company. Because the minute that you put government money into private enterprise, you immediately start to have government control of that private enterprise. So I am not in agreement with Donald Trump on that move. In fact, I honestly think that should be considered unconstitutional because, again, there's nothing in the Constitution that states that the federal government needs to own private entities. They don't. There's nothing in the Constitution that requires that. So, yeah. Anyway. All right. So that's what we can expect, at least in the beginning of this new term, for it. All right. Well, we now have a second judge, a second federal circuit court judge, who has gone off the reservation. As if they did not have a answer from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that basically says that, hey, Donald Trump sent the National Guard to Los Angeles legally, and he is in control of the National Guard legally, and that the judges don't have the authority to block that. Well, obviously, the morons, a judge in Washington, my wonderful communist state, I'm being facetious. Anyway, ruled that the National Guard, this was yesterday, ruled that the National Guard that was deployed to Los Angeles during the immigration enforcement protests was illegal. Yeah. I don't have any information on that, but U.S. District Court, you'll remember, U.S. District Court Judge Charles Breyer already tried this. And basically that the Trump administration had violated the federal law sending troops in, except there's only one problem. The Ninth Circuit Court, which covers both of those courts, by the way, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said that his national, meaning Trump's, National Guard decisions are unreviewable by the courts. Now, this happened back in June of 2025, as you recall. The Ninth Circuit Court panel seemed to bristle at arguments by President Donald Trump that the federalization of the California National Guard and ICE protests was unreviewable, but they basically said that, he did it. It was legal, and all he was doing was protecting federal government property. Therefore, yep, the National Guard stays under the control of Donald Trump. So on and so forth. So the, yeah, they stayed the lower court ruling that would otherwise bar him from taking control of the National Guard without Newsom's permission. So they had done that. They've already said this is not a reviewable thing. This is not something that you guys can that we can do. So yeah. Basically, yeah, they pretty much have said, nope, this is it. So there you go. Yeah. Anyway, they decided, this other judge apparently decided that he or she is gonna try and crash this. So yeah. Anyway, the panel ruled that the president could keep federalizing the state's National Guard during protests over ICE immigration raids. Yeah. So there you go. Yep. Anyway. And speaking of that, by the way, there have been several experts that have weighed in on this entire situation. Okay. Here in Newsmax. Experts. Insurrection Act gives Trump power to deploy Guard. Which is true. He has the power to do this. Now, obviously, the Democrats have been pushing back against Trump's use of the National Guard in L.A. and Washington, D.C., but several legal scholars say that the Insurrection Act of 1807 gives the president broad power to deploy troops under certain conditions. For an example, John Yoo, that's Y-O-O, a law professor at UC Berkeley, explained that Trump invoked his authority to protect federal facilities and personnel, a rationale that was upheld previously by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, as I just pointed out. Similarly, Daniel Pai of the University of New Hampshire noted that the Insurrection Act, allows the Guard to be deployed if a governor requests it, if federal law is obstructed. That's the key. Federal law being obstructed. By obstructing these ICE agents from doing their job to get rid of illegal aliens by these mayors and governors, this is exactly why the Insurrection Act was put into place. The other piece to it was also if constitutional rights are being denied, which is why the National Guard was able to be deployed by the president to help the integration of the black schools during the civil rights movement. So there you go. And without the governor's request, by the way, the administration could argue that federal law is being obstructed. So Pritzker and Johnson, those morons who sit there and are already saying that, no, we're not going to allow you to do this. Yeah, no, it's not going to be the case, folks. They are going to be obstructing federal law by blocking that. Now, everybody, of course, points to the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878. Now, experts point out that the Insurrection Act creates exceptions to the Posse Comitatus Act, which it absolutely does. The administration also has cited Title 10. You remember I was talking about this yesterday. Title 10 is the one which permits deployment in cases of invasion, rebellion, or when state forces cannot enforce the law, which is, again, the National Guard under Title 10. Now, William Banks of Syracuse University explained that the president has even greater control in Washington, D.C., since the city itself is not a state, and pointed to the Home Rule Act of 1973. So now, all of that being taken, it would probably have to go to the courts anyway, because deploying troops to states without a governor's approval needs to be justified. However, I can tell you right now, J.B. Pritzker deploying troops to Illinois, J.B. Pritzker has already laid the groundwork. He has already laid the groundwork by saying that he is not going to support this and that he is going to fight it. So he's set himself up for that. That's a bit of a problem. Well, in another court win, the appeals court is going to allow the Environmental Protection Agency, under the auspices of Lee Zeldin, to cancel the $16 billion in climate grants. So a lower court judge, and here we go again, folks. This is an appeals court basically pulling this out. See, you need to understand the lower courts, anything, and this is constitutionally, I'm telling you, anything that was created by Congress does not have the power to override the president, which the president and the executive branch is the Article 2 constitutional authority. The only court that has that power given to them constitutionally is the Supreme Court. These lower courts issuing these blanket injunctions and all of this stuff, and especially when you're starting to deal with things like foreign policy and all of that kind of stuff, they have no jurisdiction. Zero. None. Zilch. And yet, for whatever reason, these judges seem to believe that they have this power, which, as I've already pointed out to you in multiple occasions, other episodes, that this is a basically 20th century invention, that it did not exist prior to this. So anyway, the appeals court basically told the lower court judge that, hey, you literally have no authority to halt the termination of any program. Now, granted, it was a 3-judge panel in the U.S. Court of Appeals in the District of Columbia, but they voted 2-1 to reverse Judge... this sounds familiar. Tanya Chutkin. Her injunction preventing the federal government from withholding the funds. Yeah. So this case, which is Climate United Fund via Citibank, environmentalists sued the Environmental Protection Agency, which had custody of the funds, and its administrator, Lee Zeldin. And the 3-judge panel, in a 2-1, reversed her block and basically said that the nonprofit's arguments did not belong in the federal district court. Here's the other one. Is that, things like putting it in the wrong court. They do that because they're court shopping. The left does that because they're looking for a sympathetic judge. In this particular case, the 3-panel circuit judge said, you lack jurisdiction in this case or authority to hear claims that the federal government terminated a grant agreement arbitrarily or with impunity. The district court was said to be abusing its discretion in issuing the injunction, and the grantees are unlikely to win their case on the merits because their claims are essentially contractual. The case, they said, should have been brought in the U.S. Court of Federal Claims, which has exclusive jurisdiction to hear such cases. These people want to try and manipulate the court system in order to win, and they're starting to get pushback, real pushback from real judges who understand the way that our justice system is set up. So, yeah. So there you go. And this is a good thing. I mean, this is the way it should be. This is the way it should be. All right. Well, you know, at the top of the show, I was talking about the leftist lunatics. The leftist lunatic that I had gotten involved in on Facebook. But this is part of the problem, okay? And she had gotten into it. The original discussion that we were discussing, of course, was the development of the Department of Education and its purpose. Constitutionally, it is not a constitutional responsibility of the federal government, period. There is nothing in the Constitution, and I challenged her to show me where the article and section in the Constitution stated that the federal government was to be in charge of education. She kept avoiding the answer. She gave me some, vague, whatever kind of answer, and then tried to wow me with her A's in law school or whatever. Yeah, well, this is part of the problem. And one of the things that we were discussing was the fact that the Department of Education, in conjunction with the teachers' unions, has been placing requirements on states and state school districts with regards to things like gender studies and CRT and all of these other left-wing social justice programs, rather than the standard of reading, writing, arithmetic, home ec classes, how to fix a bike, how to change a tire, real life skills, by the way. Okay. And basically, here is why we cannot trust the Department of Education or anything in terms of the teachers' unions. A watchdog report came out that the two largest teachers' unions in the U.S. funneled $43.5 million to left-wing groups. Now, why would they funnel that money to left-wing groups? Is it possibly because they are left-wing? Yeah. So this is a conservative watchdog group, which was the national nonprofit group Defending Education, released a report last week detailing the contributions of the NEA, which is the National Education Association, and the American Federation of Teachers, sending far left groups and causes all of this money. And it cited disclosures to the Department of Labor about all of this. Now, we know for a fact that the teachers' unions push leftist ideology. They always do. Okay? And essentially, the researcher, Ryan Staley, told Fox News, "It is clear that the teachers' unions' priorities are advancing far-left politics and radical social justice issues, not the education of children. This is a slap in the face to families and teachers who want to focus on helping students improve their math and reading skills. It's time for Congress to act to stop this obscene redistribution of public monies to advance left-wing identity politics." So the unions apparently sent money to about 1.5, according to the report, 1.5 million, to groups such as Tides Network, 1630 Fund, New Venture Fund, and Future Forward. Well, Future Forward is a pro-Kamala Harris group, which, by the way, all of those are left-wing dark money organizations. The report additionally found that the unions heavily funded groups that supported left-wing candidates in recent elections. giving significant sums to, say, the Democratic Governors Association, as well as the Democrats' House Majority PAC and the Senate Majority PAC. The unions also donated to left-wing think tank Center for American Progress and its 501c4 arm, which bagged nearly $1 million from the union since 2022. So, yeah. You sit here and you want to talk to me about education and how the states are, separated from all of this stuff, that they can choose to do whatever they want with their curriculum. No, they can't. They honestly can't. Because the Department of Education puts out the standards. The teachers' unions point out, hey, we're going to push this, and this is what we're going to do, and so on and so forth. The Department of Education just allowed them to happen, to do their thing, and all of that stuff. And all of this is being done with the carrot and stick. The stick being the fact that, hey, if you don't do this, we will pull federal money. Yeah. So, yeah. This is just crazy, people. If you really want to support teachers and stuff, homeschool. Support yourself. Teach yourself. Teach your kids yourself. I guarantee you they will get a much better education and come out a hell of a lot happier than going into the public educational school system. Not to mention the fact that both Chicago and Baltimore have entire grades in entire school districts that can't pass standardized tests. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's get down to brass tacks, people. In the final minutes of the show here, let's get down to brass tacks. I had to take a drink. And speaking of drinking, let's get down to brass tacks about the alcohol consumption. Apparently, the United States is starting to reduce its alcohol consumption. Yes, according to a recent Gallup poll, folks, 54% of the country, only 54% of the country, has been reporting that they drink. That means we have 46% of the country that is reporting that they don't. That is the lowest, by the way, it's a record low in nearly a century. Now, the data by itself, by the way, is consistent with other research, including so this was a Gallup poll, but data is consistent with other research, including Monitoring the Future's National Substance Abuse Poll, that also found a dramatically reduced interest in alcohol among students from 1975 all the way up to 2025. The subcategories in the Gallup poll revealed some bits of information, interesting bits. Women were more likely to quit drinking than men. Okay? There was an 11% drop in drinking rates since 2023 compared to just a 5% drop in men. White adults were more likely to quit drinking than adults of color. There was an 11% drop in drinking rates since 2023 compared to just 2% in people of color. The poll also showed that from 2023 to 2025, the largest declines in drinking rates were among people earning less than $40,000 per year. They had a 14% drop. To those earning and those earning $100,000 or more per year had a 13% drop. In contrast, drinking rates among those earning between $40,000 and $100,000 fell by only 4%. Younger generations are more likely to quit drinking than older generations, with a 9% drop in adults ages 18 to 34, and a 10% drop in adults ages 35 to 54, compared to a 5% drop in adults 55 years or older. And from 2023 to 2025, Republicans reported a 19% drop in drinking rates compared to a 6% drop among independents and a 3% drop among Democrats. So America is starting to become alcohol less. Not this show. Not this show. There we go. Anyway. All right, folks. That is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you hit that, or search up the American Perspective channel, and click that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget tomorrow night is Whiskey Wednesday, and we have reportedly a pet of the week for Whiskey Wednesday, which is awesome because I was going to call for one, but somebody got it in. I'll tell you who tomorrow at the end of the wire. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.